This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Oh, it's 1 o'clock, so why don't we get started? We have the quorum, so we'll get started. So, welcome everyone to the MPO today. The first agenda item is introduction. So, Brad, who's going to read the roll? It's going to be Brian.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
MassDOT Secretary, Representative Stephen Warfel.
Yeah, Stephen Wolfer representing Acting Secretary and CEO of MassDOT, Jamie Tesler.
Sorry. MassDOT Highway, Arthur Frost.
Yes, Arthur Frost here and representing Mass DOT Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Okay. Representing Fitchburg, Skorsky. I have his name on the list. Tom, are you there?
I'm here. I am. I was muted.
Leominster, Gordon Robertson.
Yeah, here, present.
MRPC Chair, Glenn Eaton.
Hi, Brad.
All right, so Glenn's here.
I can't hear anything.
Subregion 2, Rosemary Meisner.
Here.
And I believe that is it for the MPO members.
You
If I
did
missed
call
any,
on Mart.
oh, I'm sorry, Bonnie Mahoney, Mart.
Bruno was also on, so.
Okay. I believe that is it for who we have for members.
We had a meeting yesterday.
All right. Do we want to go around and have anyone else introduce themselves, Brad?
Sure. I'm Brad Harris, Montachusett Regional Planning Commission. Brian Doherty,
MRPC.
Sherry Bean, MRPC.
Here.
George Snow, MRPC.
Brad, I believe that George and Glenn are having issues either with the microphone or they can't hear the meeting.
Okay.
So I think they're trying to figure that out right now.
Well, they are here, but then we have Brian Croto. Brian, are you there?
Yep, Town of Winchendon.
Okay. Bruno Fisher Mart.
I'm here.
John Cronin is here, I believe.
Everybody, John Cronin, State Senator for the North Central region, just here to listen.
Thank you. Jonathan Rockwell. Jonathan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here from TEC, just a consultant listening in.
Okay. Josh Prevel, are you here?
Josh Breville here. First meeting for me from the Arc of Opportunity in Fitchburg.
Welcome. Derek Cravat, MassDOT.
Yep, here, MassDOT, Office of Transportation Planning.
Mark Pomerini from Leominster.
Yeah, here.
Michelle, is it Ho?
Yep.
Is she here?
Yeah, she's here.
Okay. Paula Simmons, Mass DOT.
Here, representing District 2.
Sarah Bradbury, Mass DOT.
I'm here from District 3.
And Travis Condon, North Central Mass Chamber.
You're just listening. Happy to be a part of this today. Thank you.
Okay. I believe that is everybody.
I think the only one you missed is Chris Timmel from Federal Highway. He joined Brad too.
Oh, okay, there he is. Sorry about that.
Sorry. No, I joined
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, welcome everyone. We'll move on to agenda item 2, which is public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the MPO today? Please raise your hand if you do. All right, don't see anyone waving at me or any hands up through GoTo. So you guys bring the agenda back up? All right, so we're on to agenda item 3, the approval of the May 19, 2021 minutes. Can I get a motion in a second to approve the minutes, and please remember when you make a motion or second to note who you represent, what organization you represent.
So moved, Arthur Frost. Oh,
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, from Tom, it looks like. Are there any changes or comments on the minutes? All right, seeing none, Brad, you want to read the roll, please?
Sure. MassDOT Secretary and CEO Representative Steve Warfel.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Arthur Frost.
yes.
Fitchburg Tom Swirsky.
Yes.
Leominster Gordon Robertson.
Gordon Robertson here, yes.
MRPC Chairman Glenn Eaton.
Yes, on behalf of Guy Corbacero. Yes, sir.
Mark Bonnie Mahoney.
Yes.
Is that it, Brad? We're good?
And Subregion 2, Rosemary Meisner.
I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, thanks everyone. Let's move on to agenda item 4, which is the Montachusett Federal Fiscal Year 21 to 25 tip. I assume it's Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Yep. Okay. So this is a proposed adjustment to the current active tip, which is 2021 through 2025. The reason for the adjustment is a price reduction in 2 target section projects. And if the MPO votes to endorse these adjustments, they will become active without the need for a public comment period. The reason being, there's a difference between an adjustment, which is considered a minor change, and an amendment, which we've had 3 of, I believe, in this past tip cycle. An amendment would be more of a major change and it would require a 21-day public comment period. So the first project here we have is in Gardner, project 608-888, reclamation and related work on Pearson Boulevard. Currently it's listed at $1,264,648. The adjusted cost would be $832,346 for a reduction of $432,302, or approximately 34%. And I will note in the past we've done an amendment for projects which are over 10%. However, according to federal guidance, that would apply only to projects over $5 million. So projects under $5 million, such as this one, any cost change under $500,000 would be considered only a minor change. So that's why we have proposed an adjustment here as opposed to an amendment. Project number 2 in Winchendon, project 608-548, improvements and related work on Central Street from Front Street to Maple Street, currently listed at $4,508,785. The adjusted cost would be $4,102,216 for a reduction of $406,569, or approximately 9%. So those are the 2 projects we have proposed for adjustment into the current tip. Again, if the group votes to endorse this adjustment, there will be no need for a public comment period, and the changes would take effect immediately.
All right, thank you, Brian. Does someone want to make a motion in a second to approve the adjustment, which is for both the Gardner and Winchendon projects, the adjustments here?
Arthur Frost, so moved, MassDOT.
Bonnie Mahoney, second. Mark.
Any questions for Brian or for the Highway Division? All right, seeing none. Brad, could you read the roll, please?
Sure. MassDOT Secretary Steve Warfel.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Arthur Frost.
Yes.
Fitchburg Tom Swirsky.
Yes.
Leominster Gordon Robinson.
Yes.
MRPC Glenn Eaton.
Yes.
Mart Bonnie Mahoney.
Yes.
And Subregion 2, Rosemary Meisner.
Yes.
So it passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian. We'll move on to agenda item 5, which is the raise applications. Brad, who's handling this for you guys?
Sherry.
All right, Sherry, go ahead.
Thank you. So the Montachusett Regional Planning Commission had submitted 2 raise grant applications which stands for Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. These grant applications consisted of, number one was the funding for a development of a regional climate vulnerability assessment and regional climate change resiliency plan. So there's two components to the first one. What brought this about was the fact that there are a number of MRPC communities that don't have the funds to create their own individual assessments and resiliency plans. So we were trying to figure out a way to incorporate all of our communities so that we can have consistency throughout the region where the planning is similar throughout, so that when we move forward with projects that they coincide with each other. So, you know, one community having resiliency plan is great, but you know, as we know, that climate doesn't just stop at community boundaries. So we wanted to make sure it was more of a regional effort here. We had a lot of support from all of our communities that we had reached out to. We got at least 8 to 9 support letters over a very short period of time, which shows that support. And then we had asked for 500,000 for that particular project. The second one was an environmental and design feasibility study for a new interchange on Route 2 in South Athol Road in Athol. This came about from a study that we had done in 2019, although it's been in the works, or at least as a thought for many, many years. But we had finally done 2019 done a study on this, and it came to a conclusion that more analysis was needed, and then an official design would be implemented. And so this is to fund a consultant to assist with the design on this. There are a lot of positives for this one, where the major one would be the direct route for an off ramp of Route 2 to the local businesses in that area, which would cut back on a lot of the truck traffic that we're seeing on a lot of the residential streets, and also would provide essential connections for the fire department, Athol Hospital, state police, and then the high school as well. So we had asked for 500,000 for that one also. We had submitted those last Monday, and we hope to hear back in November sometime, I believe. Oh, and there was also, we had a third one on our list to apply for, which was Route 12 project in Leominster, but it was determined that it wasn't quite feasible yet based off of where we are in the design on that one. We couldn't do a benefit cost analysis or environmental analysis because we were missing quite a bit of data, but we do hope to be able to apply for that one next year. It should be eligible then. That's all I have.
All right. Anyone have any questions on either of these raised grants or Sherry? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
We'll move on to agenda item 6, which is ADA public right-of-way surveys data collection application. Brad, who's doing this?
George Snow is going to take care of this.
All right, go ahead, George.
Just put on my mic there. Sorry about that. Thank you. And so today I'm going to do an overview of our ADA Pro or Public Right-of-Way Surveys Data Collection App. This will be a condensed version of an overview that we presented at meetings with 2 communities in our region. The overview, a full overview, can take up to an hour, which includes a PowerPoint presentation, a live demo, and a question and comment period. Today, I'll be limiting this overview to about 15 minutes. That includes a condensed version of the PowerPoint presentation and a question and comment period. The purpose of the app is to decrease the cost, time, and effort it takes for a community to collect existing pro pedestrian facility data. After a community, the goal is to make this data collection as easy as possible. After community employees or interns receive some training, they can use this app for data collection based on a schedule developed by the community. Next. Oops, going too far. Just wanted, yeah, there you go, thanks. Usually, I'm the one that presents the surveys. There are 4 surveys in the app. And so I usually present those as well as the survey guides that we prepared for the surveys. And Jason usually does a live demo of the app, but we won't be doing, obviously, the live demo today. Next, please. The purpose of this of this type of data collection is to collect and create an inventory of the existing conditions of our community's existing pedestrian facilities for future ADA planning activities. That can include the development of a transition plan as well as support other planning activities such as roadway project development. It can be part of a pavement management program or asset management program. It can also be used for writing a grant application. And what's good about this type of data is this quantitative data as opposed to just qualitative data. You have solid proof. You have measurements. You'll have all these measurements to go by as opposed to just a description of what the facilities are like. And the survey questions are based on ADA Pro guidelines. The guidelines inform the development of the questions. They're not just arbitrary questions. Next, please. There are basically 2 components to the app. The first is it utilizes ArcGIS Survey 123 mobile app for Android and mobile devices. A big issue is, of course, it replaces paper-based data collection. You don't have to take reams of paper out or surveys out into the field to collect the data, and you don't have to keep track of it. The data collected is immediately available in GIS. The surveyor is out in the field in the morning, he goes back to an office in the afternoon, and he can view the data he collected or she collected right on the computer. Jason also developed a manual for the app. This is a step-by-step guide on the operation of the app. So if you want to download the surveys, if you want to go to a different survey, it gives you instructions on how to do those steps in the app. The next component is there are 4 surveys for the 4 types of pedestrian facilities. And there are 101 questions in the 4 surveys. The first survey we'll look at is the sidewalk survey. There are 30 questions in the sidewalk survey that cover length, location, as well as the other items listed here. One key one is the vertical discontinuity, which I provide the 2 questions below that address that. The first question is whether or not they exist. And if they exist, you have to answer the second question. You have to go out and measure the vertical discontinuity. I also included in this survey sidewalk condition index questions. And those are not ADA guidelines, but I included them because when it comes time to creating budgets, when it comes time to creating schedules, knowing what the sidewalk condition is like will help you to develop the schedules that will be used in the field to develop the schedules in the budgets. Next, please. The next 2 surveys are the crosswalk. There are 20 questions in the crosswalk survey that address existence or non-existence. A key item that's addressed in this survey is facility type, whether or not it's an intersection, roundabout, or median. And the questions are a little bit different for a roundabout as opposed to an intersection or or whether the crosswalk is at a median. So another important item here is the existence of a median. And that's what's in the sample question here that I provide. Does a median exist at an intersection median location? If it does, you're asked to answer the next 3 questions that are listed here. And it pertains to measuring the access route and whether or not there is a refuge island in the median. The next app is APS, or Accessible Pedestrian Signals. This is the shortest survey. There's only 15 questions that address existence or non-existence, location, and so on. The most significant question is the signal push button question, and there are basically 9 or 10 questions that address the signal push button. So, and if there is no signal push button, you're not required to proceed further into the survey. As you can see, I have a note here on a question, no, stop here if the answer is no to question 4. And the survey location, if the answer is yes, then you proceed to answer the questions that pertain to the signal push button. Next. And finally here we have the curb ramp survey. There are 36 survey questions in this survey. This is the most robust survey that there is, as you can see, because of the 36 questions. The questions address existence, non-existence, location, and a lot of the questions address the curb ramp elements, which I provide a diagram here of. There are several different curb ramp elements that go into measuring, that need to be measured. However, when a surveyor is out in the field, if the first question in the survey is a vertical curb blocking the pedestrian path of travel? If the answer is yes, that's the end of the survey. The only question you need to ask that needs to be answered is the location of that lack of a curb ramp location. And the reason why you want to collect that data is because you want to collect where you need to put the curb ramps. So that's why we're collecting that location data at that location. There are 20 questions that require taking a measurement. So they're quite extensive, number of measurement questions in the survey. However, there are 6 questions that are dependent on a yes response. So this is a great aspect of this survey, is if it cuts down on a number of questions that need to be answered if the answer is no. If the answer is no, you don't have to proceed to answer the next question. And I give an example on the next slide, please. And here is a question that relates to that. Does a transition ramp exist on the curb ramp? If the answer is no, you don't have to measure the running slope of the transition ramp. And those are the major elements of the curb ramp survey. What we did on all the surveys, as well as the curb ramp data collection guide, is data collection survey, we developed guides for all the surveys. And the purpose of this is it provides guidance to the surveyor while they're in the field or whether they're in the office. And we get into describing them next. Next slide, please. The purpose of the surveys is to provide at-office and in-field recommendations to the surveyors on how to prepare for collecting the data collection, operate the app. Now, this is not the same operating the app you see in the manual that I described earlier. This basically, you have to provide a step or two in the guidance to operate the survey. So there's just a few items in here that I added on how to operate the app in the guide, and also how to conduct the surveys. All 4 survey guides cover similar topics, but they're applied differently to each survey, with one exception. The sidewalk data collection guide provides the at-office recommendations that the other survey guides don't. So that's a key difference there between the sidewalk survey and the other 3 guides. The limitations of the guides are they don't provide recommendations for every question in the surveys. Otherwise, the guides would be very large. And basically, the questions if you know when they're read, they're very instructive on what needs to be done. It also assumes that the survey knows how to use a tape measure, electronic level, and a measuring wheel. Next. And here are the ad office instructions that the sidewalk data collection guide provides. It provides a method for reviewing the existing sidewalk network. You don't want to go out in the field and not have a full concept of what the sidewalk network looks like. And it also recommends that if it needs updating, that you update it before you begin your survey. It also recommends developing a strategy for conducting a systematic sidewalk location by sidewalk location survey. You want to know where you're going to end, and you want to know where you're going to end. And so you just keep track of what you've done and what you're going to be doing. The guide also recommends installing ArcGIS Survey 123 and downloading all 4 apps while you're downloading the sidewalk app. I mean, surveys. Next, please. Now we get to the curb ramp data collection guide. Because we covered in more detail the curb ramp survey, I'm going to describe the guide a little more in depth, and this will give you an idea of what the other guides are like as well. This guide, the curb ramp data collection guide, provides a data collection sequence diagram. Basically, I borrowed this diagram from the Mass DOT curb ramp directive. It's basically a diagram of a four-way intersection with all the curb ramps on all the corners, and I added some elements to that provide an idea of what the surveyor should do when he gets to an intersection, and how to basically follow a sequence as opposed to just going from curb ramp to curb ramp without knowing what they're doing. It just recommends to the surveyor a way of conducting the survey in a sequential approach, as opposed to, again, arbitrarily going from corner to corner. There are 3 pages of curb ramp type examples for identifying the curb ramp types. There are 4 basic types of curb ramps, but they're applied differently at different curb ramps. And in the survey, when they're doing the survey, we are asking for a photo to be taken of every curb ramp, so that if there is a question of what type of curb ramp it is, you can decide that back in the office if need be. I also provided a curb ramp nomenclature diagram, which we saw earlier in this presentation, and I also provide descriptions of the curb ramp elements. Next, I provide sketch numbers for measurement questions diagram and a measurement questions and sketch numbers table. And we'll get into those on the next 2 slides. Those 2 items here address the measurement questions that we talked about earlier. That there's 20 of them. And they need to go into a little bit more detail on those questions. I also describe the curb ramp distresses that could exist on a curb ramp. Say there's some cracking that's going on and so on. And so I describe the type of distresses that could occur on a curb ramp. I also provide in the guide the list of the 36 questions in the survey. The 2 questions that are provided here are the first 2 measurement questions in the survey. The first one is measure curb ramp opening with at gutter. And next slide, please. This is the measurement questions and sketch numbers table that I mentioned earlier. As you can see, here's the measurement questions on one side. All 20 of them are listed here. And then you have the sketch match numbers on the right side. So if a surveyor doesn't know what the curb ramp opening width is at the gutter, he doesn't know where to look. If he or she doesn't know where to look, if they Uh, They look at this table, they'll see on the right here the sketch batch number, which is next slide, please. And if you look at the middle, lower middle of the table, you see the number 6 there, and that's where the survey is directed to measure the width of the gutter width at the ramp. All these numbers you see here address those questions, or relate to those questions in the previous slide. So if there's and the questions are listed sequentially as they appear. If you want to, can you back up for 1 second, please? All these questions are listed sequentially as they appear in the survey. So if they're on question, further down, they can, they just follow the sequence as they appear in this list. So that pretty much wraps up the guide and the survey. Next, please. What we normally do is when we do an overview is Jason or Kayla does a live demo of the app. And that includes downloading the app, downloading the surveys, how to run through the curb ramp survey, and just a whole array of items that the survey goes through as the survey is going through the survey. It's very good live demo. We've done this 2 times again before. Both times we've done this overview in Athol and Air. They're looking forward to using the survey, and hopefully soon they'll come on board and actually start to use it. We also presented this at the last month's MJTC meeting, and so we're also we're also going to be using this on a study that we're doing, the Route 12 corridor study. We're actually going to use the app most likely for the first time when we do that study. So we'll get all the curb ramps, all the things that we just covered. We'll run each survey during that study. And next, please. That pretty much sums up my presentation. Do you have any comments or questions?
All right. Anyone have any questions for George?
I have a couple of comments.
Yeah.
Just on Route 12 survey, I'm not sure how much of Route 12, but I would say I wouldn't bother to survey the wheelchair ramps as part of the Route 12 Central Street project or the Route 12, let's see, North Main Street. Is it North Main Street project? Both of those are in Leominster. Correct. Just because we already have full survey and we have projects going, I wouldn't spend your resources on that.
Yeah, the study covers from just south of the Water Street Bridge down to Bemis Road. So those projects, right. Those projects won't be part of that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure what your project area was, and I did make a comment to share with Highway Design. But it sounds like you've already been coordinating with Highway Design. I made that before you talked about the coordination. So that's all I have.
Can you clarify that again, Arthur? I'm not sure what you.
No, I just as far as the app and some of the work that you're doing, it might not hurt to share information with Highway Design or Boston Highway Design, because the complete streets section of MassDOT is run out of Highway Design, and that way they could share information back with you or you with them, depending on what type of things. They may have some comments. I don't know.
Oh yeah, excellent, great. Thanks for that. Yeah, so
I put their email address in the chat.
Great, thanks.
All right, other questions for George? All right, I don't see any, George. Thank you very much. Good presentation. We will move now on to agenda item 7, the Northern Tier Rail Study. Brad, who's handling that?
I'm going to talk about this one, and maybe Bruno, if he has any thing he wants to add, or Bonnie wants to add, they can do so. Last week, we attended the kickoff meeting for this Northern Tier Passenger Rail Study, which is being funded through the state legislature and, excuse me, I believe recent funding legislation. And I have a presentation that was put on by MassDOT on this. So if you bear with me, we'll just run through this real quickly. It's only about 8 slides and it covers what the whole thing is about. So the background, basically, Mass State Legislature is directing Mass DOT to conduct a study of the feasibility of passenger rail service from Boston to Greenfield and North Adams. And they've dubbed this the Northern Tier Corridor, with the speed, frequency, and reliability necessary to be a competitive option for travel on this corridor. Extending the rail line has always been an issue in this area and out to Greenfield and so forth. So this study will hopefully address a lot of those questions that have come up. The background, basically, Mass General Laws is indicating that the study shall examine and evaluate costs and economic opportunities. The study will include, but not limited to, the projected capital costs, operating costs and revenue estimates, ridership levels, operating rail service on existing rights of way and other operational issues, an estimate of the environmental impacts and benefits, an analysis of community impact and benefits, and potential sources and availability of federal, state, local, and private sector funding, and the resulting economic, employment, social, and cultural benefits to Franklin and Berkshire counties and the Commonwealth as a whole. It's a very extensive background or set of orders for this study. The study corridor is both passenger and freight rail lines that operate along the corridor. It's the MBTA commuter rail line, the Fitchburg line, which is highlighted in purple, as you see in this map, from Boston out to Fitchburg and will be Wachusett Station, and then Pan Am Southern rail line ownership all the way out to North Adams, through Greenfield and up to North Adams. In the past, the discussion of extending the commuter rail back to Gardner has always been an issue because of this area here just west of Fitchburg. There's a grade, and you can see the rail line goes up, makes a sharp U-turn here, and that's because of the grade. And that's a slow moving area for the trains. So there's always been an issue to getting something effective in place out to Gardner. So hopefully they'll be looking at that. And maybe if it's feasible, coming up with some alternatives that may offset the use of this section of the line. So the study overview, conceptual planning study to examine the statewide and regional economic and environmental benefits, as well as any associated challenges, identify all necessary improvements to support passenger rail service between Boston and Northwestern Mass. Again, Boston, the project limits sit between Boston, Greenfield, and North Adams. The overall study is expected 18 months from the issuance of a notice to proceed. This is a flowchart of the study process. Public participation will be important throughout this. There'll be hopefully a number of public meetings held throughout the Northern Tier Corridor. At the kickoff meeting, we discussed some possible areas for meetings for the general public to attend, but those will all be scheduled down the line. And then it goes through, obviously, documenting past efforts, a market analysis, physical, regulatory, and right-of-way ownership issues, service plans and alternatives, evaluation and cost estimates, and then a list of recommendations, both short and long term, for the report. Again, public engagement. You'll have at least 2 public involvement components. Working group meetings comprised of residents, community group, industrial, local, regional, state, legislative, and federal representation. And public meetings, again, are key milestones throughout the process to get their feedback. This kickoff meeting had a lot of individuals who will be part of these working groups and will be continuing to meet on a regular basis to watch this and interact during this entire presentation, this entire development of this study. Questions, whatever you have, we can try and answer. But as I said, it was an initial kickoff meeting. It was hosted by Senator Joanne Comerford. It was an online meeting which had a lot of the EdMart, MRPC, Franklin Regional County, Transit, Berkshire Regional County, all were part of the initial kickoff meeting. So again, this one-page handout comes from the Trains in the Valley website. Very useful site, and I'll be posting some stuff too to keep everybody up to date. There will be a website developed for the study, and once we get that official information, we'll make that available to everybody so they'll be able to go and see where in the study process it is and how things are going and when public meetings are being scheduled. This gives it a little brief overview of the entire planned service, planned study, and that's all I have really on this. Again, it was just an initial kickoff meeting, so further information will be coming as this study is developed, as a consultant is hired to brought on board to do the work and so forth. So, are there anybody have any questions or issues?
Anyone have any questions for Brad? Obviously, from Officer Transportation perspective, as Brad said, we're in the process, still in the procurement process, and finalizing all that. And obviously, we'll provide updates to you all, on a regular basis about what's going on with the study. But anyone have any questions? Either Brad or I can do the best I can to answer. All right, I think we're good, Brad. Thank you, Brad.
Well.
All right, we're on to an agenda item 8, which is updates. The first one's from the Highway Division. Paul, you want to go first?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I have an update for our current year TIP project, 608548 Winchendon, Route 202. Happy to report we are at final design. Environmental is clear. Right-of-way process is progressing smoothly, and we expect to meet the current add date of August 7th.
Okay, any questions for Paula? Right, thanks, Paula. Arthur, you want to go next?
Sure. All right. First project on fiscal 21 is 607431 was Westminster resurfacing related work on Route 140 from 2A to Patricia Road, and that was advertised in January. Again, 608657 Lunenburg Bridge Rehab, Route 2A over Pearl Hill Brook was advertised last December. Then we have Gardner reclamation and related work, which we acted on at today's meeting, 608888, and that's at the 100% design level. We changed the cost from 1.2 million down to 800,000, and it's the same project. What we went on our review, we went through and looked at weighted average bid prices, and we found that some of the prices were too high, and we adjusted that to be more in line with current prices. So that was the reason for today's adjustment, and that's due to be advertised September 11th, 2021. And then we have Gardner 608891. This is resurfacing and related and rumble strip installation on Route 140, and that is at the PS&E level, and it's due to be advertised. It was advertised 6/19, June 19th, 21. And then we have Leominster 608561, which is Route 12 North Main Street at Hamilton Street, and that is due to be advertised September 4th, 2021. So,
all right. Any questions for Arthur?
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure. Go, Brad.
Coming down Route 2, heading west and eastbound, there are some message signs up saying that comes July 23rd, Route 2 will be closed between exits 93 and 100 during the nighttime hours. What work is actually going to go on during that stretch?
Okay, good. Good. I should have brought that. The work planned is to set the new bridge over Route 2 for the Twin City Rail Trail Phase 1 project. So currently you have, I don't know whether is the old railroad bridge still there?
No.
I'm assuming it is. No? It's been pulled out?
Yep.
Okay, so then this is, then they prepared and they're ready to set the new bridge. I didn't know whether they're going to do it at the same time. But they'll be putting the new bridge in place, and that's right, the old bridge wouldn't be there because they've been working on the abutment, doing the abutment work and getting everything else ready. The other thing is an adjunct to this is you're aware the ramps from Route 12 northbound to Route 2 eastbound. There's been a short acceleration area there. And part of this project too, since we're replacing a bridge over Route 2, we pushed the abutments back to allow for a future acceleration lane. Right now, as you come east on Route 2, coming down the hill under Route 12, and then you have a very short acceleration lane from Route 12 southbound to Route 2 eastbound. And again, you have a short acceleration lane for Route 12 northbound to Route 2 eastbound. So the intent was, while we were replacing the bridge, is to look ahead and give us room to make improvements in the future at that intersection too. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Arthur? All right, thank you, Arthur. Next update is transit. Bruno or Bonnie, you got anything?
Yes, I'm going to be speaking. Bruno has to sign off for another meeting. We did want to let you know that all transit services, with the exception of the Littleton shuttle, have been restored. The last one to come online was the Route 11 to the Great Wolf Lodge. That resumed service on June 18th with the opening of the Great Wolf. We have continued to maintain the Wachusett shuttle connection down to the intermodal. Even though Route 11 has resumed, we have kept the two loops that go from Gardner to Wachusett Station going to the intermodal, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, because we are seeing ridership on it. And it gives them a chance, since the intercity doesn't run during the summer, another connection from Gardner into downtown Fitchburg. Bruno and Carrie are going to be meeting with the Devon's stakeholder group on the 28th. I'll be on vacation, that's why I'm not going to that meeting. But they're going to be meeting with that group to talk about what kind of services will resume on Devon's. Currently, what used to be the Devon's regional shuttle is really just an on-demand taxi service right now, set to a very limited, I think it's 4 loops a day of the old schedule. So they're going to be meeting with the Devon's Enterprise Group next Thursday on what that's going to look like in the future going forward, and how it's going to interact with our first mile, last mile workforce grant that we have for the Air Shirley area. We are also going to be meeting with Littleton to try to resume the Littleton Westford shuttle. We've spoken with the town of Littleton back in May, I want to say, and they kind of wanted to hold out to July about what that would finally look like, but they're talking about really expanding the route to hit more of the shopping areas that are on like that 119 stretch, where the big new cinema is over in Littleton, not just going back and forth to the tech zones, trying to meet some more needs of the residents of Littleton. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about today was, for those of you who do not know, Mohammed Khan retired as of July 9th. That was his last day of work. And Bruno Fisher was named by the board as interim administrator. And there is currently a job posting for the administrator position that is open until August 2nd. And the members of the board are on the hiring search committee. And so we assume that sometime in early fall, there will be an announcement, of who the permanent administrator will be. So that's all the updates I have.
All right, any questions for Bonnie? All right, thank you, Bonnie. Next update is from the JTC. Brad?
Okay, thank you. The MJTC did not meet in July. We'll be meeting again next time on Wednesday, August 11th at 2:30 p.m. And the first order of business will be the election of officers. Our nominees right now are Nicholas Bonsonetto from Fitchburg for chair, Dick Keelhart from Athol for vice chair, and Guy Corbacero Winchendon for secretary. As I mentioned earlier, staff was part of the initial Northern Tier passenger rail study meeting on July 13th. We'll continue to be part of that group, and we'll bring information forward as we collect it. And finally, we were able to add on 3 traffic interns at the end of June. They have been actively working on the count program since that time. Again, the weather has been playing havoc with the placement of the counters, but they are still continuing to work and to try and put a dent in the program. And we'll hopefully have them on board until the end of September. So our goal right now is the first goal is to get the Mass DOT requested counts done first, and then we'll move on to our study counts and anything else we can get done this count season. The goal also too will be next year to hopefully get some people on board a lot sooner and resume our full traffic count program as we have in the past. That is all I have.
All right, any questions for Brad? Seeing none, the next update's from the RPC. Glenn, we got anything?
Yes, sir. I have a short written report. I'll read it into the record. Guy Corbacero, chairman of MRPC, was unable to attend today's meeting. I'm in his place. The FY21 MART MRPC Transit Planning Technical Assistance Contract concluded on June 30, 2021. There is no contract for FY22. Mr. George Kahale, Transit Projects Director, is no longer employed with MRPC. MRPC will meet its contractual obligations and deliverables identified within all project tasks listed in the current P50, including tasks numbers 4.1 through 4.4 identified below. New staff assignments are underway. Those 4 tasks are copy and pasted from the PWP. The headers are in the written report. MRPC also experienced 2 additional staff departures in June, one in administration and the other in planning and development. The Administrative and Human Resources Director retired, and her workload has been picked up by 3 other admin staff, myself, Fiscal Director, and the Administrative Manager. Lastly, a vacancy occurred in the position of Planning and Development Director. Current Senior Planner, Ms. Karen Chapman, has been promoted into the position. Officially, she'll take over that role on Monday the 26th. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any questions for Glenn? Thank you, Glenn. All right, the next agenda item is Administrative Matters next MPO meeting. Brad, when's our next meeting?
August 18th at 1 p.m.
Okay. All right, so keep that in your calendars. And then the last agenda item is adjournment. Brad, I can't remember. Do we take a vote to adjourn or just kind of we don't do a roll call, right?
No, we don't.
All right.
And one question before we adjourn is there a need for the August 18th meeting?
Brad?
That is, for now, we have no action items to look at. But if something comes up on Mass DOT side, they need to hold a meeting and feel we need to have an action item. We have it right now on the calendar. But
Okay.
I'll work with Mass DOT, Boston, and Derek, and see if we don't need the meeting. We'll make sure we let everybody know at least a minimum a week ahead of time.
Okay, I just want to, I'm especially aware of all the volunteers that sit on this board and their time too. So just, that's the reason for my inquiry.
I think it's more, Arthur, if anything comes up with the tip that we need to deal with.
Yeah.
It comes up that we're not expecting, I think, right, Brad? So please
Right.
hold that date. But, if there are no agenda items, Brad will let folks know a week ahead of time that then we'll meet again in September. All right. Can I get a motion second to adjourn, please?
So moved, Arthur Frost.
Second, Glenn Eaton.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll leave to see you in August. But if we do not, please have a good rest of your summer. We'll see you in September. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
you.
Goodbye.